Hey guys, this is Miss E, and today we're going to talk about how do I multiply matrices. So, before we get into actual multiplying of a matrix, I need you to first understand if you can or cannot multiply a matrix. You can't always multiply a matrix. So, the first thing that you need to look at is the dimension. So, if I know that this is a 2 by 2 and this is a 2 by 2, I must look at the two inside numbers. Anytime my two inside numbers are equal, that means that I can multiply. So first off, I'm just going to put a little check here to tell me that I can multiply. The next thing that you have to pay attention to is that my last numbers, the numbers that are left, that tells me the dimensions of my resulting matrix. So this tells me that my resulting matrix will also be a 2 by 2. And since I know that my resulting matrix is going to be a 2 by 2, I'm just going to go ahead and set that up. I'm just going to make it real big so I can show you the step-by-step process. And since it's a 2 by 2, that means it's going to be two columns. Two rows, I said that right. Two rows and two columns. Now the question is, what goes on these lines? Well, it's going to follow a very simple pattern. All right, and if you follow this pattern every time, you'll never get your answer wrong. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my rows from my first matrix. So that means I'm going to do 2 times something plus 1 times something. And that's going to be the same for this row because I pulled it from this row. So 2 times something plus 1 times something. So this is going to be the same on for both entries on this row. So I'm going to write that exact same thing over again. 2 times something plus 1 times something. So now that I have that, the question is, what am I going to put down here? Well, same process. So for my second row, I'm going to look at the second row of my first matrix. So I have 5 and 2. So I'm going to follow that same pattern. So I'm going to do 5 times something plus 2 times something. And then once again, whatever I put on this first entry of my row, I'm going to put on all entries of my row. So once again, 5 times something plus 2 times something. Okay, so now the question is, what the heck goes in the something, Miss E? And I understand that. So let's talk about what goes into the something. The something is whatever is in the rows of the second matrix. So I got -2 and 0. So that means I got -2 and 0. And then that's going to follow my row. So because it's a row, it has to be the same exact entries on the bottom. So 2, 0, -2, 0. Okay? So that's my first column from the second matrix. So now I'm going to pull second column, second column of my second matrix. So that means it's going to be 3, 2. Whatever I put at the top, I got to put at the bottom. So once again, 3, 2. Okay? So now you just do the math to figure out your answer. So -2 -2 times -2 is -4. 1 times 0 is 0. Okay? So -4 plus 0 is equal to -4. 2 times 3, 6. Plus 1 times 2, which is 2, which means that entry will be 8. 2 times -2, -10. Plus 2 times 0, 0. Which means my result here is -10. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 2 times 2 which is 4, which means that's 19. So what do I get when I multiply these two matrices together? My final answer is -4, -10, 8, 19. Because I just get those answers from my final answers after I did the math. And that is how you multiply matrices. So once again, like I said, the first thing you got to check is, are my inside numbers equal to each other? Once you know that they're equal to each other, that now tells you can multiply it. Once you know how that you can multiply it, then you want to know what size it is. And to know what size it is, you look at your two remaining outside numbers. So because my two remaining outside numbers were both 2's, I have a 2 by 2 will be my resulting matrix. And as you can see here, my final matrix is definitely a 2 by 2. Okay, so that's how you multiply matrices. Now, it can get a little bit more complicated. Like the square matrices are your easiest ones. Now, how does it get complicated? Look at that. So now, it looks like I wouldn't be able to multiply this. It doesn't look like there's any way possible to multiply it. Well, surprise, surprise. Let's look at these dimensions. This dimension is a 1 by 2. I'm going to put it underneath. Is a 1 by 2. This dimension is a 2 by 2. Well, what do we notice? Those two are equal. Therefore, check, I can multiply it. All right? The other thing you want to look at is, well, what's my result? So my resulting matrix is going to result in a 1 by 2. What does that mean? 1 row, 2 columns. Don't forget that. So that means now when I come over here to draw my result, I'm not going to make it as big because it's a little bit simpler. So I have 1 row, 2 columns. So 1 row, but 2 columns. And I'm going to do it exactly like I did the other one. I'm going to follow the exact same pattern. So the first thing I'm going to look at is the row of my first column. It just so happens that I only have 1 row. So I'm going to look at this row, and that's going to set me up. So I'm going to do 2 times something plus 0 times something. And then remember, it stays the same for that row. So then I got -2 times something plus 0 times something. Okay? And then just like last time, I got to fill in my somethings, right? So my somethings are my rows. See that? Sorry, my pen had a glitch. So are my rows. So in the very first row, it's going to be a 4 and a 2 in my something spot. So 4 and a 2. It just so happens that how many rows do I have? Well, I just have 1. So that 1 column goes into this 1 column. Okay? And then in my other column, I'm going to do 1 and -1. So I'm going to put 1, -1. So now I got -2 times 4, which is -8, plus 0 times 2, which is 0, which results in -8. And then I got -2 times 1, so that's -2, plus 0 times -1, which is 0, so that results in -2. So my resulting matrix like I said, it's going to be a 1 by 2. So it's still 1 row, 2 columns. So I have -8, -2. So 1 row, 2 columns. So those are the more difficult ones when you don't have square matrices and they don't perfectly match up. Those can get even more confusing. Okay, so let's look at another one. All right, so let's look at this one. Once again, it looks like it can't be done, but let's look at our dimensions and see what we have. So remember, rows go first. So I have a 2 by 1 here. And then this one is a 2 by 2. Uh-oh. Well, what do we happen to notice? My two inside numbers are not equal to each other. And when they're not equal to each other, therefore, I cannot multiply. And if this was a test or a quiz, that's all you would say, and you'd be done. You don't have to do anything more. So the very first thing you want to do is check your dimensions. Have to do that first, or else you'll throw everything else off. So always check your dimensions, because you're never really sure if you can or cannot do it. So now that I know I can't multiply, I can go on to the next one. And that's pretty much how you multiply matrices, okay? And of course, we'll go more in depth in class, but now I want you to try a couple of your own. So go ahead and try that one by yourself. And then when you're done with that one, and you can pause this video while you're working on this, I'm not making you rush, but know that your result should be a 2 by 2. Okay? So when you're done with that one, you're going to go into this one and do that one by yourself. So, like I said, you can pause the video at any point and do your problems. And then once you're done with that one, and once again, if you're not done, just pause the video. That's the beauty of it being at home. Pause the video, and then try this one by yourself. Yay! And we will actually start class talking about those 3 matrices. So if you didn't do your homework, I'm going to know, because that means you didn't do those 3 problems, and you won't be able just to turn them in. So once again, try those 3 problems, see how they go for you. If you have any questions, you can always post them on Edmodo, or wait until the morning when we discuss them. So once again, thank you. And remember, your homework is you must turn in your attempts to those 3 problems, okay, prior to me going over it on the warm-up. So once again, thank you so much for paying attention and listening. This has been your wonderful Math 3/Advanced Algebra teacher. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.